Hi, I'm back. I've called this a TM7, not a demo, because I want to give you a chef's honest look at the TM7, what it does and what's new, and whether it's a right fit for you. Okay, we've got lots of different types of people here today. So, what I wanted to explain was I'm going to start off showing you things that you may have already seen before if you own a Thermomix. But if you're thinking of upgrading or wanting to purchase a TM7 straight up, then these things will help you. I'm here to teach, not sell. By the end, you will know exactly what the Thermomix can do. So, whether you're new to Thermomix or not, there's something here for you. If you've never seen a Thermomix before, I'll show you what all the fuss is about. Already own one, I'll show you what's changed and what you might not know yet. And just here for the chef tips, got you covered. Just in case you haven't heard of me, I'm a chef and pastry chef by trade. I used to teach at Chisholm and I'm a Thermomix tragic. If you've never seen one before, this is it. The TM7 Thermomix's latest model. It sits on your bench. It replaces a whole collection of appliances, and every recipe guides you through each step on the screen. You don't need to be a confident cook to use it, but if you are, it takes what you already know and makes everything you make in your kitchen faster and easier. Tonight, I'm going to show you what it actually does. One machine, one bench space, one very long list of things it can do. All right, so today I'm making old school fruity dream. When I say old school, this is the one that we used to make way back in our TM31s. And I still make it today, although sometimes I will swap out the egg white for a half a banana. Anyway, I'm going to show you how I make this one. I have put this one into my Thermomix. So this is my recipe put into my Thermomix. And I'm just going to follow the bouncing ball. So we're going to put 80 grams of raw sugar in our Thermomix, and I'm going to grind this down and turn it into a finer sugar. So we're going to do 10 seconds on speed 10. Let's go. You can see the powder coming out here, which is the icing sugar. So take the lid off and you can see inside my Thermomix bowl we have got icing sugar here. So I'm just going to scrape this down a little so that it's fully incorporated. And now I'm putting in a bag of frozen strawberries. Now this is going to be loud. Our Thermomixes, the TM7, is not very loud. The only times you'll find it loud is when you have to go to high speed or there are really loud things inside the bowl. As soon as these soften, you'll see that it changes. All right, so we've got our 500 grams of strawberries. And now I'm just going to crack an egg and get the egg white, in there. I'm going to remove the yolk. Wet fingers work as well. Egg white or half a banana in here. And then we're going next, and we're going to go for 1 minute on speed 10. Okay, all right, so after that, this is what we have. I am going to scrape down to make sure that we've got all of that incorporated. And I'm going to add what we call the butterfly whisk. Now this is to create aeration. So this is the butterfly whisk that comes with your Thermomix. we're just going to pop that. It just sits on top of the blades. So it just sits there, family, on top of there. Pretty easy to do. It doesn't have to go in any specific way. There's a bit of a myth about that one. So then we go next, pop the lid back on, and we are going to go for 1 minute on speed 4. All right, let's have a look and see what we have. Oh, fruity dream. So that is just beautiful, isn't it? It's a beautiful thing. So instead of ice cream with all the things in it that you probably shouldn't be eating, this is just a beautiful soft serve strawberry ice cream, and you can do it with any fruit. Some fruits are a little harder than others, but strawberries, bananas, all that work really well. So here we go. Let's have a quick look. Fruity dream. I'm going to pop it into my container here. Now, of course, you don't have to make this quantity. If I'm making this for my grandkids, there's only 2 of them. This is a lot of strawberries for 2 kids. What I will do is I'll put a couple of handfuls of strawberries in and a half a banana. Now, the banana doesn't have to be frozen, but if you're putting a small quantity of strawberries in, I would freeze it so that it stays really soft. But you don't have to put egg white in then. Now, to get the rest of this off, just pop it back onto my Thermomix and give it another whisk on speed 4. Let me bring it forward so you can see, just for a few seconds, just to flick all that ice cream off the butterfly. Now all I have to do is scrape the remainder of this off the sides of the bowl. And there we have it, fruity dream. Okay, so that was fruity dream, and I guess that there was a few little tips in there about how to go about it. And it's so much healthier to have fresh fruit rather than all the things that they put into commercial ice cream. So yeah, that's a good one. The next thing is, can it really need bread? So some people have said to me that they don't think that the kneading function works as well as kneading by hand for 10 minutes. I have to disagree with that. As a pastry chef, we learn how to make bread. And there's different ways to create that gluten in the bread. So when you only knead for 30-40 seconds, then of course that's not going to be as good. It's going to be more of a cakey texture rather than a stretchy, lovely loaf. But if you follow the rules that I set out in my recipes for kneading, you'll be perfectly fine. So all these different loaves that you can see here on the screen are all my recipes that I've created for the Thermomix. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is my savory polenta loaf. Now, I've decided to not do a white loaf bread rolls or the pizza bianca because they're sort of just really plain. But I just wanted to show those of you that have seen bread being made before how you can add inclusions and how beautiful it can actually be. So this one is my savory polenta loaf, and we will watch that video now. So I'm just going to start. This is my recipe again. I'm going to follow the bouncing ball. It's telling me I've got all the ingredients here for the loaf, 280 grams of water. So I'm just weighing that into my Thermomix now. Now this recipe calls for water, and I'm just taking it straight out of the tap. The beauty of having it in the Thermomix is the fact that you can take water straight out of the tap and we can warm it up to exactly the temperature we'd like it to be. Now I'm putting 7 grams of instant yeast in. That's the old-fashioned sachet that you get. That's about 7 grams, which is about 2 teaspoons. So I'm just weighing that in now. And I'm going to go a teaspoon of sugar, which is about 4 grams. So I'm going to weigh that in next. Now the sugar is there to help feed the yeast. And I'm going to put some oil in. This is going to help keep the loaf and make it soft. So 30 grams is going in now. Cool. 28, there you go. All right, now, next. Okay, so this is where we're activating the yeast or blooming the yeast, whatever you want to call it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for 2 minutes on speed 2 for 37 degrees. It's already programmed in here and I just have to press start. So I don't have to remember any of that. And we're going to just warm that up because we took water straight out of the tap, and we'll know that that will be the right temperature to activate the yeast, no matter whatever dry yeast you're using. So I'm going to put this back in my fridge to keep it. The fridge is the best place to put it. Don't put it in the freezer. The freezer can give it freezer burn, and it won't last any longer in the freezer than what it does in the fridge. So that's what we do. Now I'm also going to use bread improver for this recipe. All right, and I'm using flake salt. I love flake salt. That's my favorite. And I'm going to use polenta. So here I'm using traditional polenta. That it's not the quick one. It's just the normal polenta. So that's that. All right, now we're not going to see a huge amount of activity in here because we haven't really given the yeast a huge amount of food. We've given it sugar, that's food, but it's got nothing else. It's just sugar, water, oil. So don't panic if it's not foaming. It doesn't need to at this stage. If I had to put flour in there as well, it would have foamed. So I can take the lid off straight away because it was speed 2. So with the TM7 up to speed 2, you can take the lid off anytime and it will just pause the machine, and it can, it just makes it so much quicker and easier. And that's what you get now. So that's what you see in the bowl. As I say, there's no foaming, don't worry about it. All right, so I'm going to the next step and I'm going to put in 400 grams of strong white bread flour. So strong white bread flour is flour that's got more protein, which is more gluten, to help make a stretchy, chewy loaf, which is what we're after for this recipe. And we've got 400 grams. All right. Now we're going to put in 100 grams of cornmeal. Each time we weigh and say that we've done it, it will automatically tear for you. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And we're going to put in 9 grams of salt. So that goes in next. Now, flake salt takes up more room in a teaspoon than just your normal cooking salt. So just make sure there's 9 grams and you'll be golden. There we go. Next, oops, wrong lid. We are going to put in 2 teaspoons or 2 grams of bread improver. Just going to tear that. Yeah, that was a bit more than 2, but you know, that won't matter so much. Dough. Now we're going to put the lid on now and we're going to knead. So I'm going to knead for 3 minutes and then I'll come back. We don't need to watch it kneading. So that's it kneading now. So for those of you that are thinking about upgrading, that's the sound it makes when it's kneading. All right, now here we have dough that's been kneaded, ready to prove. Now, I tend to just leave it in the bowl for this recipe and let it prove in there. It's nice and warm. I'm going to leave it for 30 minutes. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you, that this dough is sticky. We want it sticky. Sticky means light, soft, fluffy bread. If it was dry, it will turn out dry. So that's how we want it. So 30 minutes and I'll come back. Let's have a look. So, we have 30 minutes down and this is what we see. So it's all nice and puffy here. So what I'm going to get people to do at this stage is turn your Thermomix back on, because after 15 minutes it shuts down, but this one remembers where you were up to. So I'll just get a spatula. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to move the dough away from the bowl, and I'll explain why I'm doing that shortly. Now what I have is some cheese, and I have got a mix of grated cheeses here. I'm going to put some leaves, some rosemary leaves. I'm just gonna you could actually put all these in your Thermomix bowl and chop them, but it takes 2 seconds and I've got my cutting board out anyway. So I'm just going to give these a quick chop, throw them in with my cheese. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some sun-dried tomatoes. Now, I like these because they're not wet. They're semi-sun-dried. They're pretty dry. And what's left, I just pop in a jar in the fridge and they keep for ages. So I'm just going to go back to my recipe. And it remembers that I'm up to step 5. So I'm just going to click on here and that will take me to that step. Now, this screen on the TM7 has the weigh scales on here. So all I need to do is tap the weigh scales and weigh these. And there's 39 grams there. So I actually want 60 grams. So I'm going to just grab a few more out. Go back to that step where the weigh scale is. I might just pop that whole thing on there. And we're going to weigh in the sun-drieds, and I'm just chopping these. Now you can make this whatever size you like. I'm going to chop these up like so, and once again you could actually take the dough out and chop these into the Thermomix and then put your dough back in to knead again, or you could put them in all by hand, whatever's easiest for you. I find this super easy though, and I'm just going to now do one more, and that should be enough. Now this could be capsicum, it could be anything you like, bacon, olives, whatever you wish. So we're going back here. We're going to go back to our step. It says the dough will feel slightly sticky. Yes, and it is. We want it to be sticky. So we leave the dough in the bowl and we're going to put our ingredients in. So 60 grams of sun-dried tomatoes, 100 grams of cheese, and 1 to 2 tablespoons of rosemary. And we go next, pop the lid back on, and we just press start because it's already programmed to do 30 seconds on kneading. And that's just mixing it through the dough now. So it's just an easy way to get it mixed through. And I'm just going to take it out in a second. So you can see here what's happening. I'm just going to pop the lid back on. We had 10 seconds more. That's how quickly you can actually take the lid off and on with this model. The old one with the arms took ages to let go, but this is much better. So lid off. And we're going to pop this out onto the bench. And as you can see, this is mixed through a little bit better because we kneaded it rather than doing a mix. So just kneading it through is good, I think. All right, so I'm just going to bring this together like so. Now, when I make this loaf, I like to make it so that it's like 2, cut into 2. So I'm just going to get it. You can weigh it and make it exact if you like, but I think doing it this way is pretty easy to do. All right, and I'm going to make 2 balls. So 2 round balls here, and I'm going to put them into my tin. Okay. All right. Now, all right. So I'm just going to prepare my baking tin. Now this one doesn't normally need
a liner, but it's a bit damaged, so I'm going to use a liner for this one, and then I'm going to put my 2 loaves in, like so. Move that one over a bit. All right, so that's 2 in there. I'm going to now put a cover on that's proved, and I can turn my oven on, and then by the time my oven is at temperature, that's when I can put my loaves in the oven. Okay. Someone was asking where I get these from the other day. Kitchen Warehouse has them. Be aware of copies. They're not quite the same. White Magic is the brand that I send to people when they purchase Thermomix from me. So that's what you're after. Now, as I said, I put my leftover sun-dried tomatoes in a jar. And this is one of the vacuum seal jars. I don't need to vacuum seal. I'll use that within a week or so, and they're dry, so they're not going to go off. And I'll put them in the fridge. Okay, that's ready to go in. Actually, I probably took a little bit longer than I should have, so I'm going to pop it straight in the oven now. Okay, there we go. There's the loaf. It's still quite warm, looking lovely. We'll have that with our dinner tonight with some soup. There we go. That's it out of its wrapper. Looking good.
Okay, so how was that? So beautiful loaves. I wouldn't think of making bread any other way unless I'm doing sourdough. And I have to be honest, I do not use my Thermomix to make sourdough. All I do is weigh my sourdough into a bowl now, not in my Thermomix bowl, just in a normal bowl, and I just mix it by hand because you only have to bring it together. So the method that I use is an adapted sort of bakery style sourdough recipe. You don't have to stand on one leg and face north to make it work. It's really easy. It happens overnight. I don't bother getting my Thermomix dirty for that one. I just make it in a bowl. But I do use my Thermomix to weigh now because I can sit my big bowl on top of my Thermomix without having to sit it on top of the Thermomix bowl. The base of the Thermomix is a scale that you can actually put a chopping board on top or a tray on top and weigh anything you like. The next thing I wanted to talk about is making meals. So, of course, we all know that the Thermomix can cook, but here's what it really means. It means less watching, more living. So you can chop things. So instead of having to chop or dice your onions before you throw them into a pan, you can pop quartered onions into your Thermomix, chop them and get going and heat it up, saute them all in the one pan. You don't have to watch it, babysit it. You don't have to rescue things that are being burnt because you forgot that they were sitting there. Dinner gets made while you can do something else. There's less stress in the kitchen and more time for everything else. So that's what I love about Thermomix. You set the time, temperature, and speed. So what could go wrong? Not as much as what you can if you're cooking on the stovetop. I'm going to show you a simplified screen, how the screen actually works and how much easier it is to use on your TM7 than previous models. So let's watch that video now.
Okay, so let's have a look at a few more things that you may not notice. When you're on any screen, there is a little line up here, and if you tap on that, it brings down your timer, your scales, and pre-clean. You can bring that down on any screen. It's always there, and it's just an easier way, especially to get to your scales and your timer. I find that the old way with the TM5 or TM6 was more difficult to get to by having to slide things away, but yeah, you can get to that anytime. So if you were in the middle of a recipe, you could go to weighing something and then you could jump back out. The next screen we'll have a look at is this one. This is Cookidoo. So Cookidoo, I've got my filters set to everything that is in English, and I think it's on Australia. So there's 12,461 recipes and 8,000 collections there. It shows up with recipes that it thinks you might like first. If you have nothing in your search bar, your recipes will look different to mine. You can change this here by portion. So if you wanted to just make for 2, you could do that. I tend to leave it at 4 so that I can have 2 meals cooked in one evening. You can change categories here by choosing what you want to cook. So maybe if you wanted to do breads, you could go like this, and then you have your whole list of bread recipes there. time. You say maybe you only want to spend 30 minutes cooking this, so you find recipes that are only 30 minutes long. Now, if you wanted to exclude ingredients, say you've got someone coming around and they're allergic to peanuts, so you could say peanut, oops, I've got to spell it right so it doesn't know what I'm talking about. So if you type in peanuts here, it will remove anything that has peanuts in it. It's cool. You can do it by rating, you can do it by tags, difficulty, and so on. I'm going to the little book here. Now this is my recipes on Cookidoo. You can find this on any device. So we've got recently cooked, we've got bookmarks, we've got my recipe lists. So these are collections that you've put together yourself, or collections, which is all those little ebooks that you can have, and they're all there. Then you can have created recipes, which are recipes that you've put onto Cookidoo yourself. They might be your own recipes, or they might be someone else's recipes. Like if you've downloaded one from our website, this is where they go. The next one is modes. So the little blade image there is modes, and this is where you find your weigh scales. So all you need to do is tap on the little weigh scales and tear.
All right, so you can see that that's much easier to use than the previous models. In fact, when I go back to my TM6, because someone's asked me something about, how do you do such and such, and I have a TM6, I have to really concentrate and think about how did we used to do it. It just seems so much more difficult now compared to the TM7. Everything seems to be on the screen on the TM7. It's much easier to find. That could be me, but I think pretty much everybody that I've spoken to that's upgraded has said the same thing to me. So the other thing I always get asked is, what else do I need? For people that are new to Thermomix, they say, what else do I need? I really don't think you need anything. There is one thing that I might add, and that would be a thermo server. I think that they are pretty amazing to have with your Thermomix to keep food warm. So for instance, if you've made rice and then you want to make a quick curry to go with that rice, or something to go with that rice, you can put your rice in your thermo server. It can sit there. It only takes 20 minutes or so to cook. Put it in your thermo server and then have your other part of your dish cooking, and it stays warm. I constantly use my thermo server for all sorts of things. So that's something that I would suggest, but you don't need it. So anyway, but yeah, so what comes with your Thermomix? Okay, to start off with, I'm going to go through all the things that you get when you purchase a TM7. Okay, so the first thing, I'll just move this out of the way, that you're going to want to know about is your bowl and blade set. So this is a new type of bowl and blade set, and it is safer for people to use. It has this outer casing on it, so this does not get hot. The old ones were stainless steel and they would get hot. Now, inside this bowl, there are these ribs on the inside. These ribs are there specifically to help mix your ingredients. So without them, the blades in the bottom would just spin food around. And I'm pretty sure that you've all seen that happen with those see-through bowls on other food processors. The food just tends to spin around. Where this, what happens is the food hits one of these and pushes back into the center so that the blades pick it back up again. So it's constantly getting turned into the middle of your bowl, which is absolutely clever. I don't know of any other device that does that. You'll also see that there are markings down the side here that tells you how much liquid is going to go in here. So if your Thermomix says fill this up to 1 litre, then you know that you can fill it up to this mark, or 500 ml to this mark. Now you'll get told to do that in some instances, and it's a bit of a pain to find another container to fill up. So what you can do is you can take this over to your sink, fill it up with water, bring it back and set it on your scales, but this will give you an indication of how much to fill up with water so that you don't have to worry about finding another container. To remove this from the bowl, all you need to do is use this lever on the side and you just slide it, and your blade comes straight out like that. The old one had a mechanism where you had to turn the base, which was quite hard to do for some people. This one comes apart really easily. You just move it away from the bowl like this, and this is your locking bowl. So this goes back in, you line this black line up with the handle, pop it straight in like that. Your blade then sits straight in. It just sits in, and then you turn your little lever and that locks it in place. So super easy, much easier than before. The next thing that I'll show you is the lid. Now this lid is a new locking lid mechanism. So when you see the bowl here, you'll see that there is a bit here that moves. What happens is when the Thermomix gets over speed 2, this will lock the lid onto your unit so that there's no splashing or any spills. So that is the new locking mechanism, and it is much faster than the old-fashioned arms. And of course, you know, you don't have to worry about cleaning it because it's all enclosed. This is the lid, which has little holes in here that you can see through that will actually help with steam. This is called the lid cap now rather than the MC. They removed the MC because people would forget to put it in. Even if you have this on and you turn the dial up so that there's speed, it won't splash too much. But of course it is recommended that if you're going to mix really quick, especially with hot liquids, you have your lid cap on. The lid cap is awesome because what happens is steam comes up through here, it hits the top of your lid cap and actually goes back down, and that will keep your moisture inside your bowl. If you want to have the lid off and have steam come out, you just take the lid cap off, but this will help stop splatters and spitting. The next thing that you get with your Thermomix is this thing. It's called a butterfly, and it is used for aeration. So if you were whipping egg whites or making a mayonnaise or something like that and you needed to aerate what was in the bowl, that just sits into your bowl like this. There's a bit of a myth where people say that you have to have it a certain way. You don't. It just simply sits on top like this. You do not go over speed 4. In fact, it does say on here speed 4, so that if you forget. The reason why it says that is they don't want it to come up, go sideways and chop. So over speed 4, they know that this will not come off. So speed 4, and you really don't need to go over speed 4 anyway. It's very quick and it works perfectly fine. So that's your new butterfly. It is slightly different to the old one. It's got more rungs on it that gives it more aeration. And now this is the basket that you get with your Thermomix. This sits inside the bowl, and this is good for steaming. It's good for rice, it's vegetables. You could have a sauce in the bottom, vegetables in here, and I'll show you the aroma in a sec. This is the spatula that comes with your TM7. I recommend to people not to use this for probably about a month, depending on how often you use your Thermomix, of course. When you first get your Thermomix, your blades are super sharp. They actually blunt down just a little bit, but not enough that you need to get them sharpened. Never get these sharpened. They don't need to be sharpened. So that's another myth. Yeah, if you use this against the blades for the first month or so, then you're going to cut nicks into this. But once that's worn back a little bit, you'll be absolutely fine. And you use this around the sides of the bowl and for cleaning out your sauces and such. Okay, so it's got a little notch on here, so when you sit it on the bench, it doesn't touch, this end doesn't touch, so that you don't dirty your bench. This section here, it goes into your basket. If your basket is really hot and you can't like grab it, you can pick it up this way, tip out the goods this way, and that's for that. There's also a little thing on the bottom here, which I don't tend to use, but I know some people do. If you've got dough in your bowl and you don't want to put your hands inside, you can actually use this to turn the base and it will help release the dough. All right, next is the aroma. Now the aroma has changed quite a bit. It's a bit more stylish than it was before. It is larger than it was before. So I didn't have too much of a problem with the old one because we're only cooking for 2 mainly, but for things like making yogurt in a larger dish, I use my Varoma to make my yogurt. That is working brilliantly for me. So this is used for steaming, and you can put 2 layers of steaming.
So just for instance, if you were cooking a curry in the base or a soup or sauce or something in the base of your Thermomix bowl, you can put potatoes in this one, and in this one you could put vegetables that cook quickly, and halfway through the cooking time you could have it all prepared, ready to go, have your potatoes steaming, add halfway through the time you could add your vegetables that take less amount of time to cook, and you put them in halfway through, put the lid on, and you're good to go. And you can have your whole meal cooking in one unit at the same time, which I quite often do. I mainly use just the larger part of my varoma. I'll show you that again. So I use this base part. We have broccoli because it's so good for you and so readily available. We have broccoli often, like nearly every night, and I will cut my broccoli florets, put them in here and put my lid on. So if I'm cooking risotto or anything in here and I cut my broccoli fine enough, you can put that in there and just steam that gently through and have that cook at the same time. All right, so that's the steamer, and these are all the things that you get when you purchase your TM7.
Okay, so how cool is that? I've taken up enough of your time today. Reach out to me if you're interested in knowing more.